Yashar, Jasher, chapter 20. And at that time Avraham journeyed from the plain of Mamre, and he went to the land of the Palestites, and he dwelt in Gerar. It was in the 25th year of Avraham's being in the land of Canaan, and the 100th year of the life of Avraham, that he came to Gerar in the land of the Palestites. And when they entered the land, he said to Sarah his wife, "Say you are my sister to anyone that shall ask you, in order that we may escape the evil of the inhabitants of the land." And as Avraham was dwelling in the land of the Palestites, the servants of Avimelech, sovereign of the Palestites, saw that Sarah was exceedingly good-looking, and they asked Avraham concerning her, and he said, "She is my sister." And the servants of Avimelech went to Avimelech, saying, "A man from the land of Canaan is come to dwell in the land, and he has a sister that is exceedingly lovely." And Avimelech heard the words of his servants who praised Sarah to him, and Avimelech sent his officers, and they brought Sarah to the sovereign. And Sarah came to the house of Avimelech, and the sovereign saw that Sarah was good-looking, and she pleased him exceedingly. And he approached her and said to her, "What is that man to you with whom you came into our land?" And Sarah answered and said, "He is my brother, and we came from the land of Canaan to dwell wherever we could find a place." And Avimelech said to Sarah, "See, my land is before you. Place your brother in any part of this land that pleases you, and it will be our duty to exalt and elevate him above all the people of the land, since he is your brother." And Avimelech sent for Avraham, and Avraham came to Avimelech. And Avimelech said to Avraham, "See, I have given orders that you shall be honored as you desire because of your sister Sarah." And Avraham went out from the sovereign, and the sovereign's present came after him. As at evening time, before men lie down to rest, the sovereign was sitting on his throne, and a deep sleep fell upon him, and he lay on the throne and slept till morning. And he dreamed that a messenger of Yahweh came to him with a drawn sword in his hand, and the messenger stood over Avimelech and sought to slay him with the sword. And the sovereign was afraid in his dream, and said to the messenger, "In what have I sinned against you that you come to slay me with your sword?" And the messenger answered and said to Avimelech, "See, you die because of the woman which you brought into your house last night, for she is a married woman, the wife of Avraham, who came to your house. Now therefore return that man his wife, for she is his wife. And if you do not return her, know that you will indeed die, you and all belonging to you." And on that night there was a great outcry in the land of the Palestites, and the inhabitants of the land saw the figure of a man standing with a drawn sword in his hand, and he smote the inhabitants of the land with the sword, continuing to smite them. And the messenger of Yahweh smote the whole land of the Palestites on that night, and there was a great confusion on that night and on the following morning. And every womb was closed, and all their issues, and the hand of Yahweh was upon them because of Sarah, wife of Avraham, whom Avimelech had taken. And in the morning Avimelech rose with fear and confusion and with a great dread, and he sent and had his servants called in and related his dream to them, and the people were greatly afraid. And one man standing among the servants of the sovereign answered the sovereign, saying, "O royal sovereign, restore this woman to her husband, for he is her husband. For the same befell the sovereign of Mitzrayim when this man came to Mitzrayim. And he said concerning his wife, She is my sister, for such is his manner of doing when he comes to dwell in the land in which he is a stranger. And Pharaoh sent and took this woman for a wife, and Yahweh brought upon him grievous plagues until he returned the woman to her husband. Now therefore, O royal sovereign, know what came to pass last night to the whole land, for there was a very great fear and great pain and lamentation, and we know that it was because of the woman which you took. Now therefore restore this woman to her husband, lest it should befall us as it did to Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, and his subjects, and that we may not die." And Avimelech hastened and called and had Sarah called for. And she came before him, and he had Avraham called for, and he came before him. And Avimelech said to them, "What is this matter you have been doing and saying you are brother and sister, and I took this woman for a wife?" And Avraham said, because I thought I would suffer death because of my wife. And Avimelech took flocks and herds and male servants and female servants and 1,000 pieces of silver, and he gave them to Avraham, and he returned Sarah to him. And Avimelech said to Avraham, See, the whole land is before you, dwell in it wherever you shall choose. And Avraham and Sarah his wife went out from the sovereign's presence with honor and respect, and they dwelt in the land, even in Gerar. And all the inhabitants of the land of the Palestites and the sovereign's servants were still in pain, through the plague which the messenger had inflicted upon them the whole night because of Sarah. And Avimelech sent for Avraham, saying, Pray now for your servants to Yahweh your Elohim, that he may put away this death from among us. And Avraham prayed for the sake of Avimelech and his subjects, and Yahweh heard the prayer of Avraham, and he healed Avimelech and all his subjects. Yashar, Jasher, chapter 21. And it came to be at that time, at the end of the year and 4 months of Abraham's dwelling in the land of the Palestites in Gerar, that Elohim visited Sarah, and Yahweh remembered her, and she conceived and bore a son to Abraham. And Abraham called the name of the son which was born to him, which Sarah bore to him, Yisach. And Abraham circumcised his son Yisach at 8 days old, as Elohim had commanded Abraham to do unto his seed after him. And Abraham was 100, and Sarah 90 years old, when Yisach was born to them. And the child grew up, and he was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast on the day that Yisach was weaned. And Shem and Eber and all the great people of the land, and Avimelech, sovereign of the Palestites, and his servants, and Pichol, the commander of his army, came to eat and drink and rejoice at the feast which Abraham made on the day of his son Yisach being weaned. Also Terach, the father of Abraham, and Nahor, his brother, came from Haran, they and all belonging to them, for they greatly rejoiced on hearing that a son had been born to Sarah. And they came to Abraham, and they ate and drank at the feast which Abraham made on the day of Yisach being weaned. And Terach and Nahor rejoiced with Abraham, and they remained with him many days in the land of the Palestites. At that time Serug, son of Reu, died, in the 1st year of the birth of Yisach, son of Abraham. And all the days of Serug were 239 years, and he died. And Yishma'el, son of Abraham, was grown up in those days. He was 14 years old when Sarah bore Yisach to Abraham. And Elohim was with Yishma'el, son of Abraham, and he grew up, and he learned to use the bow and became an archer. And when Yisach was 5 years old, he was sitting with Yishma'el at the door of the tent. And Yishma'el came to Yisach and seated himself opposite to him. And he took the bow and drew it and put the arrow in it, and intended to slay Yisach. And Sarah saw the act which Yishma'el desired to do to her son Yisach, and it grieved her exceedingly because of her son. And she sent for Abraham and said to him, Drive out this female servant and her son, for her son shall not be heir with my son, for so he sought to do to him today. And Abraham listened to the voice of Sarah, and he rose early in the morning, and he took 12 loaves and a bottle of water which he gave to Hagar, and sent her away with her son. And Hagar went with her son to the wilderness, and they dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, with the inhabitants of the wilderness. And Yishma'el was an archer, and he dwelt in the wilderness a long time. And afterward he and his mother went to the land of Mitzrayim, and they dwelt there. And Hagar took a wife for her son from Mitzrayim, and her name was Meribah. And the wife of Yishma'el conceived and bore 4 sons and 2 daughters. And afterward Yishma'el and his mother and his wife and children went and returned to the wilderness. And they made themselves tents in the wilderness in which they dwelt, and they continued to travel and then to rest monthly and yearly. And Elohim gave Yishma'el flocks and herds and tents because of Abraham his father, and the man increased in cattle. And Yishma'el dwelt in deserts and in tents, traveling and resting for a long time, and he did not see the face of his father. And sometime after, Abraham said to Sarah his wife, I will go and see my son Yishma'el, for I have a desire to see him, for I have not seen him for a long time. And Abraham rode on one of his camels to the wilderness to seek his son Yishma'el, for he heard that he was dwelling in a tent in the wilderness with all belonging to him. And Abraham went to the wilderness, and he reached the tent of Yishma'el about noon. And he asked for Yishma'el, and he found the wife of Yishma'el sitting in the tent with her children, and Yishma'el her husband and his mother were not with them. And Abraham asked the wife of Yishma'el, saying, "Where has Yishma'el gone?" And she said, "He has gone to the field to hunt." And Abraham was still mounted upon the camel, for he would not get off to the ground, as he had sworn to his wife Sarah that he would not get off of the camel. And Abraham said to Yishma'el's wife, "My daughter, give me a little water that I may drink, for I am weary from the journey." And Yishma'el's wife answered and said to Abraham, "We have neither water nor bread." And she continued sitting in the tent and did not notice Abraham, neither did she ask him who he was. But she was beating her children in the tent, and she was cursing them, and she also cursed her husband Yishma'el and reproached him. And Abraham heard the words of Yishma'el's wife to her children, and he was very wroth and displeased. And Abraham called to the woman to come out to him from the tent, and the woman came and stood opposite to Abraham, for Abraham was still mounted on the camel. And Abraham said to Yishma'el's wife, "When your husband Yishma'el returns home, say these words to him: A very old man from the land of the Palestinites came here to seek you, and thus was his appearance and figure. I did not ask him who he was, and seeing you were not here, he spoke to me and said, 'When Yishma'el your husband returns, tell him thus did the man say: When you come home, put away this nail of the tent which you have placed here, and put another nail in its place.' And Abraham finished his instructions to the woman, and he turned and went off on the camel homeward. And after that Yishma'el came from the chase, he and his mother, and returned to the tent, and his wife spoke these words to him: 'A very old man from the land of the Palestinites came to see you, and thus was his appearance and figure. I did not ask him who he was, and seeing you were not at home, he said to me, When your husband comes home, tell him, thus saith the old man: Put away the nail of the tent which you have placed here, and place another nail in its place.' And Yishma'el heard the words of his wife, and he knew that it was his father, and that his wife did not honor him. And Yishma'el understood his father's words that he had spoken to his wife, and Yishma'el listened to the voice of his father, and Yishma'el drove out the woman, and she went away. And afterward Yishma'el went to the land of Canaan, and he took another wife, and he brought her to his tent, to the place where he then dwelt. And at the end of 3 years Abraham said, I will go again and see Yishma'el my son, for I have not seen him for a long time. And he rode on his camel and went to the wilderness, and he reached the tent of Yishma'el about noon. And he asked after Yishma'el, and his wife came out of the tent, and she said, He is not here, my master, for he has gone to hunt in the fields and to feed the camels. And the woman said to Abraham, Turn in, my master, into the tent, and eat a piece of bread, for your being must be wearied because of the journey. And Abraham said to her, I will not stop, for I am in haste to continue my journey, but give me a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. And the woman hastened and ran into the tent, and she brought out water and bread to Abraham, which she placed before him, and she urged him to eat. And he ate and drank, and his heart was refreshed, and he berakah his son Yishma'el. And he finished his meal, and he berakah Yehua, and he said to Yishma'el's wife, When Yishma'el comes home, say these words to him: A very old man from the land of the Palestinites came here and asked after you, and you were not here. And I brought him out bread and water, and he ate and drank, and his heart was refreshed. And he spoke these words to me: When Yishma'el your husband comes home, say to him, The nail of the tent which you have is very good. Do not put it away from the tent. And Abraham finished instructing the woman, and he rode off to his home to the land of the Palestinites. And when Yishma'el came to his tent, his wife went out to meet him with joy and a cheerful heart. And she said to him, An old man came here from the land of the Palestinites, and thus was his appearance. And he asked after you, and you were not here. So I brought out bread and water, and he ate and drank, and his heart was refreshed. And he spoke these words to me: When Yishma'el your husband comes home, say to him, The nail of the tent which you have is very good. Do not put it away from the tent. And Yishma'el knew that it was his father, and that his wife had honored him, and Yahweh berakah Yishma'el. Yashar, Jasher, chapter 22, verses 1 through 39. And Yishma'el then rose up and took his wife and his children and his cattle and all belonging to him, and he journeyed from there, and he went to his father in the land of the Palestites. And Abraham related to Yishma'el his son the matter with the first wife that Yishma'el took, according to what she did. And Yishma'el and his children dwelt with Abraham many days in that land. And Abraham dwelt in the land of the Palestites a long time. And the days increased and reached 26 years. And after that Abraham with his servants and all belonging to him went from the land of the Palestites and moved to a great distance. And they came near to Hebron, and they remained there. And the servants of Abraham dug wells of water, and Abraham and all belonging to him dwelt by the water. And the servants of Avimelech, sovereign of the Palestites, heard the report that Abraham's servants had dug wells of water in the borders of the land. And they came and quarreled with the servants of Abraham, and they robbed them of the great well which they had dug. And Avimelech, sovereign of the Palestites, heard of this matter, and he, with Pichol, the commander of his army, and 20 of his men, came to Abraham. And Avimelech spoke to Abraham concerning his servants. And Abraham rebuked Avimelech concerning the well of which his servants had robbed him. And Avimelech said to Abraham, As Yahweh lives, who created the whole earth, I did not hear of the deed which my servants did to your servants until this day. And Abraham took 7 ewe lambs and gave them to Avimelech, saying, Please take these from my hands, that it may be a witness for me that I dug this well. And Avimelech took the 7 ewe lambs which Abraham had given to him, for he had also given him cattle and herds in great amount. And Avimelech swore to Abraham concerning the well. Therefore he called that well Beersheba, for there they both swore an oath concerning it. And they both made a covenant in Beersheba. And Avimelech rose up with Pichol, the commander of his army, and all his men, and they returned to the land of the Palestites. And Abraham and all belonging to him dwelt in Beersheba, and he was in that land a long time. And Abraham planted a large grove in Beersheba, and he made 4 gates for it facing the 4 sides of the earth. And he planted a vineyard in it, so that if a traveler came to Abraham, he entered any gate which was on his way, and remained there, and ate and drank, and satisfied himself, and then departed. For the house of Abraham was always open to the sons of men that passed and returned, who came daily to eat and drink in the house of Abraham. And any man who had hunger and came to Abraham's house, Abraham would give him bread that he might eat and drink and be satisfied. And anyone that came naked to his house, he would clothe with garments as he might choose, and give him silver and gold, and make known to him Yahweh, who had created him in the earth. Abraham did this all his life. And Abraham and his children and all belonging to him dwelt in Beersheba, and he pitched his tent as far as Hebron. And Abraham's brother Nahor and his father and all belonging to them dwelt in Haran, for they did not come with Abraham to the land of Canaan. And children were born to Nahor, which Milcah, the daughter of Haran, and sister to Sarah, Abraham's wife, bore to him. And these are the names of those that were born to him: Uz, Buz, Kemuel, Kesed, Chazo, Pildash, Yitlap, and Bethuel, being 8 sons. These are the children of Milcah, which she bore to Nahor, Abraham's brother. And Nahor had a concubine, and her name was Reumah. And she also bore to Nahor Teva, Gaham, Tachash, and Maachah, being 4 sons. And the children that were born to Nahor were 12 sons besides his daughters, and they also had children born to them in Haran. And the children of Uz, the firstborn of Nahor, were Avi, Cheref, Gadin, Melush, and Devorah, their sister. And the sons of Buz were Barachel, Naamath, Shewa, and Madonu. And the sons of Kemuel were Aram and Rehob. And the sons of Kesed were Anamelech, Meshai, Benon, and Yiphi. And the sons of Chazo were Pildash, Mechai, and Epher. And the sons of Pildash were Arud, Chamum, Mered, and Moloch. And the sons of Yidlaf were Mishan, Cushan, and Mutzi. And the children of Bethuel were Sakar, Laban, and their sister Rivkah. These are the clans of the children of Nahor that were born to them in Haran. And Aram, son of Kemuel, and Rehob his brother went away from Haran, and they found a valley in the land by the river Parath. And they built a city there, and they called the name of the city after the name of Pethor, son of Aram, that is Aram Naharaim, to this day. And the children of Kesed also went to dwell where they could find a place, and they went and they found a valley opposite to the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they built themselves a city there, and they called the name of the city Kesed, after the name of their father. That is the land of Kasdim, to this day. And the Kasdim dwelt in that land, and they were fruitful and multiplied exceedingly. And Terach, father of Nahor and Avraham, went and took another wife in his old age, and her name was Pelilah. And she conceived and bore him a son, and he called his name Zovah. And Terach lived 25 years after he brought forth Zovah, and Terach died in that year, that is, in the 35th year of the birth of Yisach, son of Avraham. And the days of Terach were 205 years, and he was buried in Haran. And Zovah, son of Terach, lived 30 years, and he brought forth Aram, Achlith, and Merik. And Aram, son of Zovah, son of Terach, had 3 wives, and he brought forth 12 sons and 3 daughters. And Yahweh gave to Aram, son of Zovah, riches and possessions, and a great amount of cattle and flocks and herds, and the man increased greatly. And Aram, son of Zovah, and his brother and all his household journeyed from Haran, and they went to dwell where they should find a place, for their property was too great to remain in Haran, for they could not stop in Haran together with their brothers, the children of Nahor. And Aram, son of Zovah, went with his brothers, and they found a valley at a distance toward the eastern country, and they dwelt there. And they also built a city there, and they called the name of it Aram, after the name of their eldest brother. That is Aram Zovah, to this day.